Welcome to the Car Guys and welcome to the Lotus 240 Final Edition and the Lotus Series 1 Elise. We've got the first car and we've got the last car for your viewing pleasure. And not only are we going to gaze adoringly at these two cars, but we're also going to take them out on the test track, both of them. So this is a special moment for me and I hope you really enjoy this episode. Look what Lotus has done. They've only brought out a Series 1 Elise, one of the early cars in the same colour as my 240 Final Edition. We are looking at Genesis. This is a Series 1 Elise and you can see the progression and the history from the first edition to the Final Edition. Unmistakably Elise, yet also quite different and separated by 25 years of development. Look at the differences between these two cars. Look at the similarities. Look at the more aggressive front aero on the newer car. The petrol caps are in the same place. You've still got those air vents at the rear, although the 240 Final Edition has got a much larger intake. The lights have changed, obviously, one of the big differences, but you've still got that characteristic Elise little wing on the back, which gives you actual downforce, and the interiors are surprisingly similar. This has obviously got more horsepower versus this, so you need more cooling. This is supercharged, this is naturally aspirated, but don't they look fantastic together? Look at that. This is an epic moment. For me personally, this is really what I wanted to happen when I picked up the car. I wanted to pick up the car from the factory, right where we are now, and I wanted that special moment. And thankfully, possibly having seen my tales of woe at the collection of this car, Lotus has come good and we have created something quite special. This is a historic moment for Lotus. We are now seeing the end of the Elise in the Exige line. The new Emira looks to be a huge sales success already, and we have the Avaya, the electric powered hypercar, and then we also have a series of new electric cars coming in the future from its parent company, Geely. The production facilities here at Hethel have been expanded. We've got new visitor centre, there's talk of a new heritage centre. Everything is very exciting. And what's going to happen today is something quite special. Gavin Kershaw, who is the guru of handling and development of Lotus cars and has been for over 30 years, is actually going to take me out in this car and in my own car. We're going to go on the Lotus test track and drive both these cars in anger. We're going to christen this one, give it the full beans on the test track. So this episode is for you Lotus fans out there. I hope you enjoy it. So Gavin, you are currently, your job title is quite impressive, isn't it?
It's long. No, Director of Attributes, which anything has an attribute. So typically in a car, we're talking about ride, handling, steering, noise, vibration are your main ones, aerodynamics. But then it's sitting position, ergonomics, connectivity with your screens and things like this. So I'm part of the team that sets the targets for our future cars, but also as our cars are in development, like the Emira, we're working with the engineers to see if they've got ideas on how to improve, because technology is coming towards us. So yeah, it involves driving cars, working with Russell Carr and the design team. So yeah, it's great.
So would you say that you are the custodian of making Lotuses drive like Lotuses?
I think I'm one of them, yeah. I think that, I'm very fortunate that starting here at 16 years old and being mentored by the likes of John Miles, Roger Becker, Alistair McQueen. John was, directly linked to Chapman, so he knew what Chapman wanted as a car in his Type 72 race car or his Europa. So those guys teaching you, it's not been distilled or filtered down. It's not sort of urban myths. I've heard it from the horse's mouth nearly.
Yeah.
So,
wow. So we're in a Series 1 Elise, one of the early cars. I think it's a 1998 car.
Yeah.
Wow. How long since you've driven one of these?
I actually own one, so similar period. I don't drive it on track. It's part of the... I've got an Esprit GT3 and a Elise and a Navora, all the cars that I've invested my sort of time and effort and now hard-earned cash into. So
all the very best ones.
Yeah,
the connoisseur's choice.
Yeah, so it's been a while since I've driven one of these around the track in anger, so it'll be really enjoyable again.
And what viewers of my channel won't necessarily realise until this moment is that I've actually been in the car in one of these with you in the mid-90s, back when you were a nipper.
Yeah.
And so this is basically reliving that moment. It was on this circuit, it was in one of these cars. So for me, this is a proper nostalgic moment, and also bringing my own Lotus to the factory as well. I just thought this is just such a special thing to do, and I'm really honoured to have you drive me around, actually.
No, it's a pleasure. And during the early development of the Elise is when we used to have the sort of more boomerang shaped circuit, and then we transferred over to this circuit. So actually these circuits where it's all transient corners, it's one corner to another, the car's never really straight apart from the two straights. So, you know, you'll be interested to see that, you know, the way that the car even responds in these sort of wet, slippery conditions is a way that we've always been told to tune Lotuses, you know. It's effortless in the way it turns immediately, it rotates around the centre. It's a big thing about a Lotus. It's, you know, not super quick steering, but very precise. Yeah. You know, it's not, you're not fighting it, you're not 50 pence piecing. But you should be able to place the car millimetre perfect at every apex and just feel the grip build up and drop away. And obviously the Elise was notorious for requiring to be driven, you know, some of the characteristics being, but you can again turn it in.
Lovely. Always nice.
I think that was the thing that even today, you know, the Elises that we drive, it's got that forgiveness where you want to play with it, but it's not just purely about beating it up. It's, you know, you want to drive with it, you want to work with it, you know, you want to go and hunt out pieces of roads and things like this, and there's not many cars around apart from Lotuses where you want to do that with. And you forget, you know, with the brake feel, no ABS, you know, all of that stuff that's gone. Traction control is by your feet,
yeah,
not a switch, and it's just so rewarding again.
How much of the final edition, which is, so I've got the 240 final edition, how similar is it, how different is it?
As we said, some of the electronics, some of the stability control, ABS, a brake booster, airbags, things like that. But when you go back to the purity of it, yeah, yes, the suspension's changed millimetre by millimetre, roll centres, spring rate, but the chassis design is very similar, double wishbone, subframe at the rear, not at the front. The way that we have a front roll bar but we don't have a rear is still the same today.
Yeah.
Steering rack ratio is very similar. The big thing that's come on, this car benefits from it, is tyre technology.
Right, yeah.
Early on, the cars had so much front grip, we actually had to find the best rear tyre that was available from Pirelli, but with the worst front. Right. So hence we wanted to build in understeer. John Miles at the time was really playing with what we call bump steer, so the way that as the car rolls, the way the front tyre moves out. And the Elise is notorious for running quite a lot of what we call toe out in bump. So as the car rolls, the actual tyre toes out, and that's actually to take away steering angle in effect. If you think it's, as you pushing it, the car's going, no, you don't quite need that amount of steering at the front.
Right.
And it's that balance front to rear. And then even the S2s, we started to go to that 175 front tyre just to get that balance correct again. But the thing you feel with this is you can feel every kilo added to the car, where with the...
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, me as well, yeah. I think that's the thing that's changed since 1990 something. With the engine performance from the new engines, this was an amazing engine. You know, we used to race them in British GT 2-litre versions, but the torque delivery of the new engines is very strong, very linear.
Yeah.
So, you know, it does hide its, you know, its increase in mass really, really well. And that was when we changed the process and the manufacturer.
Oh, so playful, isn't it? Lovely.
It's brilliant, isn't it? But you can still see, you know, 80, 90 miles per hour from that little engine.
Yeah.
And again, hard on the brakes. And the big thing with this specification of the car was the MMC brakes.
Right.
You know, you sort of soon forget when you're just pressing, you know, braking from 100 miles per hour. These were completely new to the industry. You know, the aluminium brakes were unheard of, and not having a brake booster, the pedal feel is incredible. You know, it's like any sort of LMP car that you drive today. You know, the really strong pedal. The big thing was that I remember, I think Chris Harris has commented on it since, the Elise didn't have a differential, and a lot of the journalists at the time used to struggle with the car. They couldn't get it to slide, typically understeered a bit, and then it was, you know, the Lotus drivers in effect that used to mess around drifting cars, and I think we cut our teeth on probably one of the most difficult cars to balance sideways, especially with low horsepower, no differential.
Yeah.
So your throttle and sort of steering control became really on point. And he's got into press saying now, you know, that if you could slide one of these around, then you could probably go and grab any car in the world and have a go. It's having that fine balance with our electronics where, you know, a bit of understeer if you're aggressive, but then a little bit of oversteer. You know, the rear shape of the rear tail has got that more ducktail, and that again was to cure some lift issues and things like this.
Well, that actually made a difference.
Yeah, the corner we're looking towards now is windsock, and it's always traditionally been like this. And obviously, we never had the Arnco. We used to have a lovely oak tree sitting there, and
for you to aim towards.
Yeah, just to aim towards. And without that little rear ducktail, I remember the car being really floaty through there, which was quite exhilarating. But again, if you needed to make a correction, if you imagine an animal ran across, things like this. Yeah. So Richard Hill at the wind tunnel put this tail in, and yeah, ever since then, you know, our cars develop downforce, which just grows and grows as you go faster and faster. So it's always rewarding you the faster you go. And still, there's not many cars in the industry at this segment that actually generate true downforce.
There's my final edition right there.
It's amazing, aren't they? You know, and it's sad to think it is. We know we talk about final edition, but I think people don't appreciate what it's got until it's gone, isn't it?
Well, thank you very much.
No problem. A real pleasure.
That's
thank
amazing.
you. No, thank you.
The spirit of the 90s, right there.
It is, yeah. It's not just a DeLorean where you have a time machine. You can do it in an Elise as well. Try not to scuff your carbon cells.
Everyone was warning me when I said I was getting one. They were like, "You're not even going to be able to get in it, mate." And obviously, with the roof on, it is more difficult.
But you get a technique, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. So here we are on the Lotus test track in my car. This is it. This
Pressure's
is
on. I won't be drifting this one around for you.
No, you can drift this one around by all means. In fact, I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
Okay, I better change some drive modes.
Yeah, that's it. Turn it all off. There it is. There it is.
But you can just see this effortless performance again, you know, again 80, 90, you know, 100 miles per hour up to here, and then, you know, use the brakes firmly, and they just bring you back down. No dramas.
Is there a lot of brake pedal travel on the initial? Is that to encourage you to be able to sort of heel and toe and you know, give you that sort of space to be able to heel and toe more effectively?
It's heel and toe, and actually one of the criticisms that a lot of drivers gave us with the S1 Elises, and that was if they can't feel like they modulate it, like it's just very solid and instant,
right,
they don't like it. So actually people like to have a little bit of displacement.
How good is this? Gavin is actually driving my car round the test track. Oh yes, giving it the full beans.
Yeah,
that's what we like.
But, you know, again, ESC completely off, damp conditions, and the car's just, you know, absolutely eats the tarmac.
Yeah, grip is mighty, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow. Here we go, look at this. Oh yeah, the grip is good, but you can still brake it.
And it's, you know, we're hugely lucky, aren't we? You know, we've just back-to-back the complete bookends of the Lotus Elise history.
You don't get that very often. I mean, wow.
But I can't imagine any other cars where you could do that with, you know, over 25 years gap, but feel so connected one end to the other. It's really great to see them side by side, isn't it?
It is.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's not something I expected to happen, I have to say.
No, and it is, you know, like I said, it's a long time since I've back-to-back them, you know, like I said, I've got them at home myself. And just to see how, you know, close they are. And actually understanding every evolution has added something to the customer. It hasn't really taken it away.
Yeah.
But you can jump in that and go, yeah, that's great, you know, it's unbelievable, it's pure. And then jump in this and go, wow, this is still really, really pure to a driving enthusiast. There we go.
Fabulous.
No
That's
problem.
Awesome.
Again,
thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure, you know, and like I said, you know, it's a sort of tear in your eyes. You mentioned run-outs and final editions and things like this, but, you know, I'm lucky enough to be driving the new stuff daily.
So special thanks to Gavin for that, and now it's time for me, little old me, on this little old car channel to take my Lotus 240 final edition onto the test track here at Hethel. Here we go then. Now obviously Gavin has already shown me the way around this, but let's see how well we get on. There we go. Oh, feel the grip. Wow. Feeling the flow. Whoa, a little bit wide there. Goodness me. You run out of room pretty quickly on this circuit. Hard on the brakes, down into second, into the hairpin. Stomp on those brakes, down to second, miss the apex completely. $90, $100, stomp on the brakes, hard in, there you go, nose tucks in keenly, and then we're out again. Oh, terrible, terrible technique. We're doing beans on the Lotus test track. In the wet. This is a special moment for me. I'm driving my own Lotus on the test track. A little bit too fast there, a little bit too fast, there we go. It is deceiving. Oh yeah, there's the built-in understeer. If ever I was going to fall back in love with the Lotus, this is the way to do it. Dreams do come true, ladies and gentlemen. I've been to Fiorano, and now I've been on the Hethel test track in my own Lotus. Thank you, Lotus. Thank you, Gavin. This has been a pretty special moment in the life of this car guy, and it does make me bond so much more with this car. Thanks for watching this episode of The Car Guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this special moment, and my love for this car is growing by the second. If you like what we're doing on The Car Guys, please subscribe, leave comments and likes. There'll be another episode next week.